Hey everyone, welcome to Live Trading Thursday. My name is David Verbruggen. I am excited to be with you guys today. We're going to be looking at the market, looking at some trades that you guys bring forward. So you know the drill. Go ahead and start putting in those tickers. Put in any trades that you want to look at, any historical trades, current trades, or maybe trades that you're considering getting into soon here. So go ahead and throw those in to the comment box. Both YouTube and Facebook should have those for you. Keep in mind, guys, that all these trades that we're going to be looking at today, all these examples in this live training session should be viewed for educational purposes only and not taken as trading or investment advice. All right, guys, I'm going to share my screen here. Looking at the S&P, you can see this bullish run that we've been on. Last week, we were right around, well, I don't know what they were. Maybe we were up here. But we had moved up quite a bit. We'd moved up above this resistance level, pulled back a little bit, coming right up against this uptrending support line. Actually, today might be breaking down below that line a little bit. Might be sitting on this horizontal line. So usually horizontal lines are a little more important to pay attention to than diagonal lines, so the uptrending lines. So this, let's just get rid of this line real quick, right? So we can see it better. This line, look at this guy, right? Resistance, 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 breaks through, turns it into support. So we might be sitting on that line again. So if we get a nice bounce up off of that support line, that could be a nice entry signal for a short-term bullish trade. All right. I feel like we need to talk about something real quick here, right? So we've talked about this short-term bullish idea, but there's still many people that are not convinced that we are in a bull market. And I'm one of those. I'm not fully convinced that this is the bull market. We're ready to go. But you can't deny the fact that this is a short-term bullish run at least, and a nice one too. So you can take bullish trades. You just need to be careful, right? I think it's one of those things, like, you can proceed cautiously, but recognize this could very well be one of those bear traps. This could be one of those things where the market tries to, sucker people into getting into the market and getting all bullish. And then the big boys kind of slam the market down. And if we see that, that means that at some point, we would see a steep and aggressive move down on the market, which would prove that, hey, we are still fully in this bear. So just be aware of that. When would that? I don't know when that would happen, right? I can't see the future, but could be a few days, could be a few weeks, could even be a month. So this is why I say move forward cautiously, because if you go ahead and you set up a trade plan for a bullish setup, and you have your position size in order and you have your stop loss set, it's okay if they decide to crash the market on you. It's totally okay, because you didn't have that much money in the market anyway, and you had a stop loss that was there to protect you. Okay, so this is why we can still go ahead and take a look at bullish moves in this time, even though that big bearish move might be coming, but we're not sure that it will come. So with all that being said, I want to hear from you guys. Go ahead and throw your trades that you're looking at in the comment box so we can go ahead and analyze those. While we wait for a few of those to come in, I want to show you guys a nice feature on Charts by TRADEway that I like to use sometimes to just help find some good trades. So we're going to come up here and we're going to take a look at the screener function. So I'm going to click on screener, and I want to create a new one here. And what this does, it's going to screen for all these variables that we can select, and there's a bunch of them. And it's going to leave you with all the stocks that still meet the criteria of all the variables. So there's over 10,000 stocks out there, right? That's a lot to sift through. The screener is going to help us narrow this down, and I'm going to show you here. So you have several different levels of criteria you can look at in the screener, 1, 2, and 3. So just, 3 has the most. I just tend to jump to 3, even though I probably don't need that many options. And we're certainly not going to use all of these. I might pick 5, 6, or 7 of them to screen for, and we're just going to roll with that. So this is kind of the way I like to do it. I like to choose a price because I want to screen for the price. I want to go ahead and screen for options. I do want it to be optionable, but not only that, I want the optionable type. So that means, is it monthly? Is it weekly? Actually, it's just weeklies. You can select weekly or not. So I'll show you that in a second. And the score, I really like the score as well. That gives us an opportunity to sift for things like getting rid of bad fundamentals and things like that. So let's go ahead and choose that as well. I like to go ahead and just select a couple EMAs. Let's just do the 10 and the 50 for today. I'll explain that part more in a little bit. Volume is a big one I like to do. I always have volume on my screener when I use that. And I like to use a 30-day average volume. So we'll select that there. Now there's a new selection on here. There's a ton in here, right? I mean, that's a little overwhelming. So I'm just going to show you what actually my favorite one is of everything down here. And that's simply the liquidity on the options. And here's why, right? So if you ever found this beautiful uptrend or rolling stock, whatever, beautiful buy point, you're like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. I'm going to go buy a call on this. And you're excited. You look at it. And the bid-ask spread is terrible. There is no open interest. You're just like, oh my goodness, it is just not a good one for options. Yeah, you could trade the stock on it, but now you're just not even excited about it anymore. So the liquidity, that's going to go ahead and let me sift out all of the charts that have bad liquidity. So we'll show you that in a second. That is probably my favorite selection in the bottom half down here. So you can get pretty crazy with this and go all in and all kinds of stuff. We're just going to keep it simple right now because I already see, I think it's Mark. How you doing, Mark? I already see that Mark's got a question there. We're going to get to that as well and any others that you guys want to look at. All right. Let's go ahead and apply criteria at the bottom right. And then you see all these options down here. So for the price, I like to go ahead and maybe let's do nothing less than $5, right? If it's less than $5 a share on the price of the stock, well, it might be cheap for a reason, right? You can adjust the top end or you can leave it. We'll go ahead and let's do, how about nothing more than $1,000, right? Just to keep it simple there. Optionable, yes, I do want to make sure that it has options. And the type, I want to go ahead and click stocks with weekly options. So I'm going to select that as well. You can see how those numbers just changed, right? It was in the thousands, and there, of all the stocks out there, only some of the better ones really have weekly options. So I've just eliminated, with that one click, thousands and thousands of stocks that I don't actually care to look at. So there we go. Now we have the score here, and you can see, remember the technicals, insiders, valuation, and fundamentals boxes right here. They're a little bit offset, which is how the title is there, but you can just read left to right, right? So one of the things I might like to do is, hey, let's go ahead and let's just get rid of all the reds, right? If it's red on anything, let's just get rid of it so that at least we're neutral or positive in all these categories. Now, keep in mind, let's say if we go back into, a real bear market here, maybe you want to keep the red and get rid of the green, right? Because if you're going to play puts, wouldn't it be better to do it on a company that is bad fundamentally, for example? So just keep that in mind. And one other thing I like to do is when it comes to fundamentals, because this is probably the most important box, in my opinion, of these four right here. I don't even want neutral fundamentals. I just want good. Just make sure it's green, right? Give me good fundamentals. All right. 10-day EMA. I'm going to have it set above the 20-day EMA. So I already know, if the 10 is above the 20, 20 above the 50, that kind of thing, it's kind of uptrending. So 10-day above the 20, 50-day above the 100. Great. Awesome. All right, average volume. If you remember the rules for options, we want to look for at least 1 million in volume. Now we got 27 left. And that brings us to the liquidity. Now, if you remember on the options, like when you click the options tab and you get those 3 gauges, the first one being liquidity, that is actually taking a measurement of what is the liquidity, open interest, bid-ask spreads for the prices at the money or around the money. And so the gauge will actually give you an indicator for how liquid that stock is on the options. So you look at something like Apple, it's going to be almost pegged into the green, right? It is super liquid. Some other stocks, they might be in the yellow. So it's kind of like, oh, yellow flag. I don't know if you want to do this trade. Just look at that specific strike price pretty closely. Or the red, might be like, oof, back off of that one, right? So this is just putting that gauge into number format. So I'll just give you the numbers. Let's stick with 80 or higher. 80 or higher really should put you in the green, right? That'll have you in the green as far as the options go. So I like to go ahead and do that. So now we have all the set, and we just narrowed it down from 10,000 plus stocks to 25. We're going to run this search. There we go. It pulled up all these guys. So there you go. That's a pretty good looking list right there. A couple things I can do. I can select them and automatically throw them in a watch list. So manage selected watch list. I'm going to go ahead and create a name here. We'll call it Live Trading Thursday. Create new. Now all those guys are in a watch list, and I can come straight to the chart. Live Trading Thursday. Here's all those guys, and I can start eliminating them based off of patterns that don't look good. Now, all these guys should be somewhat in uptrends, right? There you go. It's uptrending recently, uptrending. Oh, that's actually that's a pretty nice one, actually. This guy, almost always above the 20 EMA, so there you go. You still have to do your job as a trader and find the pretty patterns, right? This one's fairly pretty. This one, not as pretty, right? Just had this massive gap and everything. So, might need to wait and see what kind of develops there. Boeing, it was uptrending, kind of flattening out recently here. So we'll kind of have to see, right? So you still have to do your job as a trader, but you just went from 10,000 plus stocks to 25. And now you can go ahead and maybe get rid of half of them, and now you're left with 12 pretty uptrends. And then you can kind of see which ones are coming into, buy points. So that's kind of how I like to do this and go about this. So I just want to show that. I know it's a little bit lengthy right there, but, Live Trading Thursday, we're talking about all things trading, right? And the workflow is a huge part of it. And using the platform to your advantage is a big part of it too. All right, Mark says, looking at DOW, short-term sideways, but uptrend. Concerned about average volume. Let's take a look at DOW. So definitely bullish in the short term here. Nice kiss off the 20 there. Concerned about the average volume. Well, let's see. The average volume, you can see here, it's listed at just over 5 million. Concerned about below average volume. You're probably thinking about today. Keep in mind, today's not over, right? So we're looking at today's candle, but the day isn't over, and most of the volume tends to come in the last, or the busiest hour of the trading day, I should say, is going to be the last hour of the trading day. So this volume, if you come look at the end of when the market closes, that volume level is going to be higher, right? It's just going to be higher. I don't know how it's going to compare to yesterday. Yesterday was kind of a quiet day on compared to the average, but you can see the average there, 5.19. But you're right, in short term, it's, it was uptrend, a little sideways, and then an uptrend. So, we could start throwing some lines on here if you want and see. That's a pretty steep line. That might be a decent line right there. It's a touch, then a kiss right there. And now we're coming right up on that uptrending line. So, here's the thing, right? We've got one touch, two touches. That might be the third touch. If it bounces and moves up, then that kind of confirms that trend. In that case, Mark, you found a pretty decent looking one here. I might want to look back at some history and see, okay, this gap line right here, that's serving as some resistance. So we could throw a line on there, just control. Oops, no, it's actually, uh-oh. I pushed the wrong buttons. I hope you guys are still there. All right, I think you're still there. Okay. Should be Option Shift T. That allows me to hotkey in some new lines. And I can drop that line right about there. Look at this, right? So there's kind of a touch there. That's your gap line showing as resistance right now. So when you throw that line on there with this uptrend, it's actually kind of a sweet looking chart, because if that does move up off of this uptrending support line and break through this resistance to the upside, you could have a bit more movement towards the upside, right? And when we looked at that 1 year chart, it's like, well, for a while, within the last year, it hung out in the, $66 to $70 range. So there's some movement up that it could do for sure. So then we could take a look, hey, let's look at the options. What does that look like here? Look, liquidity, it's in the green. So you're good to go on that part. You've got some weeklies. So there's different things that we could look at on trades there. But this is one to kind of keep an eye on. It's not ready yet, right? I'm not going to buy or enter on that candlestick. This very well could fail, right? And if this does fail and start to head down, then that little short-term bullish move is over. But there you have it. It's a decent one. I'd keep an eye on it, and if it starts to break those, there could be the potential for a short-term bullish trade in there. So good find, Mark. Appreciate that. All right, guys. I know this was kind of a short one, but I hope what I shared in the first half was very valuable to you. I want to share one other thing with you. This is something new that's been put together here, right? I'm going to drop this link in the comment box. This is going to be a Charts by TRADEway YouTube playlist, right? So on YouTube, we've been putting together some trainings and tutorials, some recordings of previous charts webinars, and even a behind the scenes webinar with Rance Mashek, who helped design Charts by TRADEway. This is actually like his whole, like his brain put this whole thing together. So we're very thankful to him for that. So check out that link there. We're going to be adding in more trainings and more tutorials. In fact, guys, yesterday afternoon, I sat down and I just like blitzed through 11 different recordings to add to some. So we're going to have a good dozen or more recordings added to that link there shortly here. So keep an eye on that. Plenty of good charts information and training for you as well. And this screener thing that I showed you, that's just a part of it, right? That was one of those episodes in there I recorded yesterday, but it's just a part of it. There's so much more in there. So I'm excited to be able to give that to you guys. All right. Well, thanks for being on today. I know the market's kind of got us in a point where it's like, better be cautious. So it's okay. That's a little slower. That happens. That's part of trading. So we're going to sign off for today, and we'll see you guys next week.